Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Thursday, September 24th, 2009. This morning I'd like to go through some of the loadable components that you can get into Cincom Smalltalk, both VisualWorks and Object Studio. While I'm going to show you this in VisualWorks, these components are also available in Object Studio, although some of them are applicable to only one or the other tool. In VisualWorks you can get to these from the toolbar here, or from the System Parcel Manager menu here, same icon. So we'll open that up. And here's the tool. Now, the categories have recently been changed, so I've gone through that in brief in a recent screencast, but to start, you want to look at popular. This is a whole bunch of things you probably want to load in when you're getting started. For instance, autocomplete. You can read the comment down here. It allows you to autocomplete things that you start typing for selectors and variables. DLLCC allows you to connect to external C code. Code highlighting. This gives you syntax color highlighting. Tabbed tool sets. This gives you multiple tabs in the browser, highly useful. SUnit extensions extends the browser with instant SUnit access directly in the bottom of the browser. I've gone through that in a screencast. Searchlight tools, very useful senders, implementers, redo, so that instead of having to decide ahead of time which one you're looking for, it gives you all that information at your fingertips. And then the UI Painter down here is highly useful, also store for Postgres. This gives you access to store, and in particular, the public store repository. Going down further, browser extensions. All the things that can be done to the browser are organized here. Things like class cloning, allows you to clone a class. Code highlighting we already mentioned. These two at the bottom you should probably ignore. They're not really up to date. The tab tool sets I mentioned, and regex extensions. A bunch of things you can do with the browser. Code editing. Bunch of extensions to the code editor. Block indent you can pretty much ignore because that's now part of the standard editor. Autocomplete I mentioned. Compose text editor is a slightly better editor. I've gone through that in a screencast. Hyperlink highlighting is an interesting addition to the browser. Code highlighting, we mentioned that, and spell check highlighting. That gives you a spell checker integrated into the code highlighter, and that's kind of an interesting modification. I should do a screencast on that all by itself. Database gives you access to all of the various database connectors. So you get Sybase, you get DB2. Glorp is the object relational mapper. Down here you have IBEXDI, which is Interbase Firebird. MySQL, ODBC, that's obviously Windows. Omnibase is an OODB. Oracle, and then Postgres down here. If you go into contributed, you'll also find a few others. Some of these are actually in contributed, and you have to be careful about looking at that if that's something of interest to you. For instance, Postgres is licensed to LGPL. Deploying applications, this is where you want to go if you want to deploy applications out. Headless support. Runtime packager. I tend to script builds at this point, but runtime packager is still useful for building up an image. Image compression. That allows you to take an image, which is say 50 megabytes, make it smaller for deployment. It will automatically be unwrapped before it's run. And then scripting support, highly useful here, gives you kind of console scripting support. I've done a screencast on this one as well. And finally today, developer tools, a bunch of things here. Advance is a modeling tool for VisualWorks. All of the AT stuff, the advanced tools, this gives you profilers. I've done screencasts specifically on the profilers. Diggy is something I haven't done a screencast on. It's in my queue. This takes the inspector, which is normally used when you inspect objects out of a workspace or the browser, and integrates kind of a smaller version of it into the space that fits into the debugger. We'll go through that at some point. And a bunch of other things down here, programming extensions, searchlight tools I mentioned, and the UI Painter. And we'll leave it there for today. There's a lot of stuff to go through here. I'm going to do this over the course of 3 screencasts, so we'll leave it here. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.